Gem of the Ocean.
Yes, indeed.
Isn't that what the thing on Titanic was called? The pendant that they were all jazzed up about?
Oh, I don't know.
Or Heart of the Ocean. Remember that big, like, blue diamond?
I do remember that.
That, spoiler alert, the little lady throws into the sea at the end.
Yeah, I don't know.
But this has nothing to do with that.
Nothing at all.
All right.
Not even close. It's a Pittsburgh Playwrights production running through September 22nd. And it's really interesting. The site of this is at 1839 Wiley Avenue.
And what, pray tell, is there?
Well, it's the fictitious home of the lead character in this play, Aunt Esther, excuse me.
Oh, but written into the script? That address?
The script is that address, because you know how August Wilson, the playwright, wrote several the Century series that all occurred in Pittsburgh, I think except for Ma Rainey. That was the only one that didn't. And this was actually the first chronological one, not the first one he wrote, but the first part of the century, 1904.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't write it first. It was written at very near the end of when he wrote these shows. And Auntie Esther was revealed and talked about in some of the previous shows, but we finally get to meet her in this one, cool. Which came out later. It was so interesting. Such a wrenching, powerful, soulful drama. It just grabs you from the first minute, and I don't even know where to start, but let's start with just some background, okay?
Okay.
Andrea Fry was the director, and I talked with Mark Clayton Southers right before the show, just a brief minute or two, and he was so proud because the entire production staff for this show is female, and he did it kind of in honor of the powerful character that Aunt Esther was, to kind of play homage to women. And I mean everybody. The set design, which was this beautiful set perched on the side of the hill. It's on an empty lot. There was actually never a house at 1839 Wiley Avenue. But that's why he probably, one of the reasons he liked that date, as well as many others. Many other reasons, 1839 was the year of Amistad. Do you remember the story of the slave ship coming over and the slaves rebelled? And that was that year. 1839 was also the first year that it was documented that the Underground Railroad existed. You know, it was there, but it was so underground, nobody even knew it was there. Yeah. It was so very significant attachment to those numbers. And okay, so in this show, it happens in Aunt Esther's house. And Aunt Esther happens to be, you ready? 285 years old.
I want to know what her secret is. Is it revealed?
No, I think you have to kind of suspend reality a little bit there. But this is kind of a mythical, magical show in many parts. And Aunt Esther, and if you say her name real quick, Aunt Esther, Aunt Esther, Aunt Esther, Ancestor. Yeah, so she goes back generations and generations, and she's at this point in the play a healer, spiritual guide, prophet. Really, her house is a sanctuary where people come to get their soul cleansed or for guidance. Really cool. And Crystal Bates is Aunt Esther. She gives such a gritty, unforgettable performance in this. It's amazing. And her character, the way she plays it, you feel her kindness and her wisdom, and then at other times she's kind of sharp. But I'm thinking, I'm crotchety already. If I'm 285,
you've earned it.
I'm going to be pretty crotchety at times.
Yeah.
So the story goes, Citizen Barlow, a very troubled man, comes to Aunt Esther to have his soul cleansed and for some redemption that I won't get into it. And Jonathan Barry plays this role. And he has just enough passion and gravity to carry the intensity of his role really movingly forward. I've seen him before, and I'm always impressed with his performances. And last night he really had a chance to shine in one scene that I don't think I want to talk about, because it's really the pivotal scene, or there are so many, but the really big scene. I don't want to...
But you'll know it when you get there.
Oh, yeah, and you'll appreciate it and be carried away by it. Yeah, and there were some other characters in there that I wanted to mention that had memories of slavery, because this took place in 1904. So, Solly Two Kings, played by Kevin Brown,
Mm-hmm.
and his role, he was also the suitor for Aunt Esther. But his role, he just played it so likably and sympathetically, and really did a good job. And Eli Howard also worked with Solly Two Kings as a conductor on the Underground Railroad. And Les Howard played that role with a kind of steady, quiet strength that I really admired. And who else do we want to talk about? Jeez.
Whoever you want.
I just...
You're the guest on the show today.
Well, Black Mary, played by Michelle Walker, was kind of Aunt Esther's person that lived with her and helped her out and did some housekeeping. And are you looking for a picture there?
Well, I wonder if this is who you mean.
Candace
Walker.
Michelle Walker.
Oh, okay.
Candace Walker. Yeah.
Okay.
I said her middle name.
What's wonderful.
But she was treated a bit unkindly by Aunt Esther, which was interesting, because Aunt Esther talked to her almost as though she would have talked to a slave. And since she herself experienced that, I found that really interesting. But then you could see by her facial expressions and her body language, you could see that Black Mary, Candace, was getting angrier and angrier. You could just feel it. And I was waiting. When's it going to blow? And when it did, it was with such power and force that it changed their relationship forever, which I thought was great. It put them on a more equal footing with each other.
I imagine it would.
Yeah. And another performance I enjoyed was Caesar, who is the officer, police officer, played by Wally Jamal. And I always enjoy his performances too. This was a little different for him though, because he played this really obstinate officer that was strictly the rule of the law, and it didn't matter anything about humanity. He just was like obsessed, almost like a mental disorder, this obsession with having to follow the law. And he did it. He kind of scared me when he came on stage. He was like, I'm going to toe the line here. I'm not breaking any laws, or I'll be in a heap of trouble with the officer, with Caesar. But the whole theme of this, I can't even really say a plot, because there were so many like subplots in it, almost like a Shakespeare has all these different little plots going on. But it was mainly, I would say, the extreme disappointment that the Emancipation Proclamation and the freedom it proclaimed really didn't give them the freedom, because of so many existing social injustices, and poverty, and and that was part of it too. Another theme was the anger at the social injustice and the way they were treated at the mill, the tin mill, which I thought was funny for Pittsburgh, a tin mill instead of a steel mill. Since it was
it's one of the metals.
I guess. And then there was a lot about redemption and moving forward. And there was even a little bit of a love story in it.
It's got everything.
Actually, 2 little bits of love story in it. So I thought there's a
lot happening at Aunt Esther's place.
There is. And being up there, that set built on that very steep hillside, just perched on the side of the hill, there was such a beautiful view of the city behind. And when I sat down, I thought, oh boy, it's going to be hard to focus on this show because of this fantastic view. But I got so drawn in so quickly by all the passion and the performances and the intriguing, complicated story that I forgot there was even a city behind it.
And you can see it yourself through September 22nd.
Yes.
With Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater Company.
It's definitely worth the trip.
Indeed.